Now the question then becomes, how do you go about doing it? Most people that I talk to about this say, this is a good idea, I don't have an argument with this, but how in the world do you go about doing it? I think building a local food system requires 4 basic ingredients. The first thing you have to do is build supply. You have to get farmers who are willing to move away from monoculture for a global market to produce the kind of foods that are needed in the local community. Secondly, you have to build the infrastructure. 75 years ago, it wasn't hard to get foods from a local or regional farmer. But today, it's easier for a school cafeteria to go on the internet and buy foods from a national distributor than it is to get that same food that's grown a half a mile outside of their door. We have to go back to the future and rebuild that local infrastructure with a 21st century twist. The third thing we have to do is build demand, and that's where education comes in, marketing, trying to get people to think about the sources of their food and the difference that their food choices make for themselves as individuals, for their families, and for their communities. And then fourth and finally, we have to reintegrate the food system. The farmers have no idea what the chefs are doing with their food and what the chefs need. The chefs don't have a clue as to what the challenges facing the farmers are. Nobody knows what the distributors and processors are doing. So part of the key to building a local food system is to bring all the parties around the table. The only way that you're going to solve these problems is to have all the people talking together. A little bit later, you're going to hear a presentation by John Marsh on Knox County's Local Food Council, which is the first one in the state. And it's an essential component of making this work. The way we did it was to start small. You can't do this all at once. We started with so-called low-hanging fruit. We found we found about 50 farmers who were willing to be listed in a publication that they would sell directly to consumers. And we put this together. We called it Homegrown. We included a little education on why you should buy local. And then here's the information. So if you want maple syrup, here's where you can get it. If you want local chicken or you want local beef, here's where you can get it. And there are about 15,000 of these floating around Knox County. You can access it on the web through the local extension service. That was Homegrown. Then we realized that if you wanted local food, you might buy eggs if they're on your way home, but you're not going to go across the county in order to get maple syrup. What if we brought everybody together and then you could go shopping and buy from a variety of local farmers at once? Yes, we invented the farmers market. You know, Alvin invented the internet, so I invented the farmers market. The first day we did it downtown, a few blocks from here in the square, we brought 9 farmers, didn't know if it would work. In 20 minutes, they'd sold everything they had. Ran back to the farm, came back. Now, 10 years later, we have farmers markets in every incorporated town and village in Knox County. And interestingly, it's a place where people come, I have my students observe, and they spend about 15 or 20 minutes buying, but tend to stay for about an hour, because it's a chance to interact. It's a chance for that kind of sociability that is part of rural character. And we put it downtown to try and bring people back to the historic downtown, to try and revitalize the downtown historic district. But the big challenge is not getting individuals to buy local food, it's to get institutions, schools and hospitals and restaurants, because that's where the big dollars are. And we decided to work initially with Kenyon College as a sort of case study. Let's see if we can do it in a college. Let's see if we can serve 2,500 meals a day with local food. And Damon Remillard will speak to you in a few minutes about the challenges and opportunities of doing that. But I think it's safe to say that the way to accomplish this is sort of one product at a time and one farmer at a time. We started with apples. They were local, easy to store, don't need a lot of processing, easy to get from farm to cafeteria. That worked. Then we went for potatoes. You know, beef and dairy, that's a little bit more complicated. But these days we average about 30% local food purchases. And what we're starting to do is develop direct contracts with local farmers to say up front, this is how much we need, and if you'll produce this food, this is how much we will pay you for it up front. So the farmers know that they can make a living wage before they get started, and they have a hand in determining what the price is going to be. And that's what we mean by developing an alternative, dependable, sustainable local food system. Education is a very big part of this. And here's where the educational mission of the college and the needs and interests of the community come together. We now have what is called a special academic initiative in our curriculum called Food for Thought, where students can take courses from biology to art to religious studies to anthropology to history and sociology, integrating food, farming, and rural life as part of their curricular studies. We've created all sorts of research opportunities and creative opportunities for students to go out and do the kind of research like for this economic impact study that gives them new educational opportunities and also advances the mission of Food for Thought in the community. We've partnered with the Ohio Ecological Food and Farm Association, OFA, to create a certificate in ecological agriculture program. Students take our courses and then they go and work on a sustainable farm during the summer and get a certificate in ecological agriculture from OFA. We have a very active student group, PEAS, People Endorsing Agrarian Sustainability. The president of that group, Sarah Berman, is here. And they are doing all sorts of interesting things, starting garden projects in the local elementary schools, trying to work with the food service to advance things there, doing educational projects and the like. And so it's become part of our co-curricular life as well. And many of our students have now gone on to work on state, national, and even global projects to bring local foods to the tables of people all across the country. So if you put this all together, it suggests that it's possible to bring local foods into the schools, and it's possible to do it not just in the cafeterias, but to make these kinds of initiatives an integral part of the educational mission of the college, even as they help to ensure the rural sustainability of our communities. And that, I hope, is food for thought. Thank you very much.